Have you ever felt like the weight of the world was pressing down on your shoulders, refusing to let you stand tall, refusing to let you breathe? Let me ask you again, have you ever found yourself in the darkest corner of your life, certain that nobody understands your struggle? I've been there. So many of us have been there. And yet, here we are, right now, in this moment, alive and breathing, carrying every scar and every victory that came before this day. That is not a coincidence. That is not an accident. That is evidence that you are stronger than the pain, more powerful than the doubt, and more destined for greatness than you might believe. But here's the truth: most of the time, you don't see the blessing while you're in the midst of the trial. You see the struggle, the confusion, the tears, the frustration. The blessing often comes later, when you've had a chance to learn from the pain, when you've allowed the journey to stretch you beyond what you thought was possible. And when you have, maybe for the first time, recognized your true capacity to overcome. This isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about recognizing that every challenge is a stepping stone, an opportunity for growth, a test that positions you for something greater. Now, why is this important for us to talk about? Because too many of us look at our trials and think they are proof of failure or signals that we're headed nowhere. Too many of us are afraid to wrestle with hardship. Too many of us run from struggle and never realizing that the very moment we're running away is the moment we're turning our backs on our own transformation. That's right, transformation. Because trials do more than make you sweat. They refine your character, they sharpen your spirit, and they prepare you for blessings beyond your wildest dreams. We often imagine blessings as something easy or comfortable, like a smooth ride through a perfect day. But in reality, blessings often arrive dressed like work, disguised as obstacles, wearing the face of fear. So we have to shift our perspective. We have to understand that every trial is a teacher. Every heartbreak is a lesson. Every disappointment is a chance to dig deeper into who we are and what we are meant to become. And you, right now, might be at a crossroads. You might be wondering if you have what it takes to walk through the fire and come out unscathed. Let me tell you something: you won't come out unscathed. You'll come out changed. And that's not a bad thing. It's necessary, because it's in that moment, when you feel the tension, the fire, and the pain, that you are forging a stronger version of yourself. So, what I want to talk to you about today is how these trials prepare you for greater blessings. I want to help you see that adversity is not your enemy. It can be your greatest ally. I want you to realize that the hardships you're running from could be the very training ground you need to step into a future that it makes so magnificent. The past look tiny by comparison, because you and I both know there's more in you than you've shown the world. There's more in you than you've shown yourself. But to unlock that more, you need to walk through the fire. And I promise you, if you do, blessings beyond measure are waiting on the other side. But let me be clear, this is not about glamorizing pain. It's about recognizing that our deepest struggles often hold the key to our most profound triumphs. So let this message resonate. Let it stir something in you. Let it remind you that your trials are not meant to crush you, but to mold you, to shape you into a vessel capable of carrying the blessings you've always envisioned. I want you to open your heart and mind tonight, to listen with your whole being, and to step forward with renewed conviction. Because there's a path laid out for you. A path where your trials are not roadblocks but stepping stones. And at the end of that path lie blessings so great that only a refined, unbreakable spirit can carry them. First, let's talk about something we often overlook, the power of perspective. When hardship strikes, what's the first thing we do? We complain. We ask, why me? That's normal. That's human. But staying stuck in that mindset is like being trapped in a fog. You can't see the road ahead, and you certainly can't see the opportunity hiding in plain sight. So let me ask you, what if you shifted your perspective? What if, instead of asking, why me, you asked, what can I learn? How can I grow? That tiny shift changes everything. Suddenly, your trials are no longer pointless obstacles, but powerful catalysts for growth. I recall a time in my own life when I was turned down for roles over and over again. I was young, I was hungry, and I was frustrated. Every rejection felt like a personal failure, a sign that maybe I wasn't cut out for this dream. But one day, I decided to look at each rejection differently. I asked myself, what can I learn from this no? How can I use this to become better? That single question lit a fire inside me. Suddenly, I was reading more scripts, practicing more lines, training harder, and focusing on honing my craft. Before I knew it, those roles that were out of my reach became stepping stones. And eventually, the blessings came in ways I never imagined. Now, imagine if I had wallowed in self-pity. If I had allowed each rejection to define me, I would have missed the blessing disguised in the trial. That's the danger of a negative perspective. It blinds you to the bigger picture. It keeps you in a small, cramped space where possibility can't breathe. But the moment you flip the script, the moment you say, this challenge is not here to destroy me. It's here to develop me. You step into a world of potential. Think about your own life. Maybe you faced a job loss, or a broken relationship, or a health scare that left you reeling. The question isn't whether it hurt. Of course it did. The question is, did you seek the lesson, or did you stay in the pain? Because pain is inevitable, but progress is optional. And progress depends on your perspective. If you see trials as punishment, you'll close up like a clam. But if you see them as preparation, you'll open up like a flower in the sun. And that, my friends, is how you bloom. Take a moment to think about that. Where in your life have you been playing the victim, telling yourself that the universe is out to get you, that you're unlucky, that you're cursed? And how might your life change if you chose a different story? Perspective is the lens through which you see the world. If you change the lens, you change what you see. This is not some fluffy self-help mantra. It's the reality that your mindset dictates your path. You want greater blessings. Start by seeing the trial as a teacher, not a tormentor. And let that teacher show you the lessons you need to learn. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds nice, but how do I actually do it? Well, one practical step is to journal your trials. Write down what happened, how it made you feel, and then force yourself to list at least 3 things you can learn from the situation. At first, it might feel strange. You might stare at the paper thinking, there's nothing good about this. But push through that resistance, because there's always something, some insight, some new awareness, some area of growth. Next, share your story. Talk to a friend, a mentor, or a trusted family member about what you're going through. When you give voice to your trials, you weaken their hold on you. And sometimes another person's perspective helps you see the silver lining you missed. Finally, remember that perspective is not a one-time choice, it's a daily discipline. Every morning you wake up, you have a chance to decide how you will interpret the events that happen to you. Are you going to let them break you or make you? Are you going to treat them as evidence that you're defeated or that you're being molded for something incredible? Because here's what I know. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. Even when it hurts, even when it's messy, even when it feels impossible. So choose your lens wisely. Because when you see trials as stepping stones, you're more likely to keep climbing, keep pushing, keep believing. And that persistence is exactly what paves the road to greater blessings. You don't give up halfway up the mountain because you hit a rocky patch. You adjust your footing, you catch your breath, and you keep going. And soon enough, you find yourself at the summit, gazing at a view so breathtaking it makes every scrape and bruise worth it. Second, let's focus on the idea that trials don't just test us. They transform us. Because here's a hard truth. You cannot receive what you're not ready to handle. Think about that for a moment. If you're praying for abundance, but you have no discipline with your finances, that blessing could crush you rather than uplift you. If you're dreaming of a committed relationship, but you haven't healed from past wounds, and that new love might buckle under the weight of your unresolved pain, the trials, the struggles, the hardships, they're like the gym for your soul. They strengthen the parts of you that need growth so you can carry the blessings you've been praying for. Do you remember the first time you faced a situation you thought was impossible, only to come out on the other side thinking, I can't believe I did that? In that moment, you realized you were stronger, wiser, maybe even calmer under pressure than you were before. That's transformation. That's evolution. And that's exactly what every single trial is capable of doing for you, if you let it. Let me give you a real-life example. I once met a young woman who battled a serious illness in college. She was on the verge of dropping out, consumed by medical bills, self-doubt, and fear for her future. But instead of giving up, she took her trial as a challenge. She researched her condition, made lifestyle changes, and sought emotional support wherever she could. She started volunteering at a local hospital, inspiring others with her determination. By the time she graduated, she wasn't just healthy, she was on fire. She went on to become a motivational speaker for patients facing long-term illnesses. She didn't just survive. She used that trial as the foundation for her life's purpose. Imagine if she had chosen defeat. Imagine if she had told herself she was too weak, too broken, too unlucky. The blessing, the purpose, the impact she's making now, that would never have come to light. Trials transform us when we face them head on, when we let them refine our perspectives, our habits, our resilience. But transformation isn't easy. It requires letting go of old beliefs that no longer serve you. It requires stepping into a new version of yourself, one that might feel uncomfortable at first. And most of all, it requires trust. Trust in the process, trust in the journey, and trust in the possibility that you were made for something bigger. If you resist the transformation, you remain the same. And if you remain the same, you might find yourself ill-equipped to handle the very blessings you've been asking for. That's the irony. Sometimes the biggest barrier between us and our blessings is our refusal to grow. How do we embrace this transformation? Start by acknowledging that growth often feels like breaking. Just as a seed has to crack open before it sprouts. You too might feel like everything is falling apart before you bloom. Embrace that feeling. Lean into it. Seek wisdom from mentors, from books, from meditation or prayer, whatever keeps you grounded. Then identify one area of your life that needs refining. Maybe it's your patience, your discipline, your self-belief. Work on that area intentionally, day by day. Track your progress. Celebrate small wins. And don't beat yourself up when you fall short, because transformation is a journey, not an instant leap. Last but not least, hold on to your vision of the blessing that awaits you. Picture yourself stronger, kinder, more compassionate, more capable. Visualize the person you want to be when that blessing finally arrives. Because the more vividly you see it, the more committed you become to the transformation required. And that's the key. It's not enough to want the blessing. You have to become the person who can uphold it. Trials are not a punishment, they're a preparation. They mold you, shape you, and carve out space in your life for the miracles yet to come. So the next time life knocks you down, ask yourself, what part of me is this trial trying to strengthen? Because I guarantee you, if you can answer that question and act on it, you'll find that the adversity you once cursed is, in fact, the forging fire that readied you for blessings of immeasurable worth. Now that we've explored the power of perspective and the necessity of transformation, let's bring it all together. Because it's one thing to talk about how trials prepare you for greater blessings, and it's another to live it. Yes, we can nod our heads. We can say amen. We can get fired up in this moment. But what happens when the storm actually hits? When the phone call brings bad news, when the bank account dries up, or the relationship ends, or the diagnosis shakes your spirit, that's when the real test begins. That's when you have to draw on everything we've discussed and put it into action. And I want you to remember this. You are not alone. One of the biggest lies that hardship tells you is that you're isolated, cut off from others, and left to fend for yourself. That is simply not true. Sometimes your greatest resources are the people around you. The mentors, friends, family, and even strangers who can offer a word of advice, a helping hand, or a simple reminder that you matter. So, I challenge you to look around. Who's in your corner? Who can you lean on? Who can lean on you? Because often the best way to survive a trial is to lift someone else in the process. Isn't that a wonder? That when you help somebody else carry their burden, your own burden feels lighter. This is not accidental, it's by design. We are interconnected, and that connection is part of the blessing. The journey we're on is not meant to be walked alone. And that's why I stand here tonight urging you to not only find hope in your trials, but to share that hope with others. Let's not forget what we've discovered. Perspective shapes your reality. You can't keep whining. Why is this happening to me? And expect to see the hidden opportunities. You can't keep cursing every closed door and expect to notice the window that's cracked open just a few steps away. You have to train your mind to look for the lesson, to spot the blessings in disguise. That's your job. That's your responsibility. And as you do that, remember, transformation is not a concept. It's a necessity. If you refuse to evolve, if you insist on clinging to your old ways, your old thought patterns, your old grudges, then you might as well slam the door on new blessings. Because every greater blessing requires a greater you. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. But let me ask you, do you believe in that greater you? Do you believe that you can handle more love, more opportunity, more success, more responsibility? Because if you don't believe it, you won't see it. And if you do see it, you might not keep it. Faith in yourself. And yes, faith in a higher power, if that resonates with you, is a critical piece of embracing the blessings to come. Take a moment and right here, right now, to envision that version of yourself who has been through the storm and come out on the other side. Stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more alive. Do you see that person? That's who you're becoming, or at least that's who you could become if you don't let trials break your spirit. If you're willing to endure, to learn, to push forward even when every cell in your body says, give up. That's the person you'll meet. And you'll realize that the only thing standing between who you are now and who you could be is the courage to face the fire, trusting that you'll emerge not as ash, but as gold. Courage. That's a word we don't talk about enough. But it's at the heart of this entire journey. It takes courage to face trials without losing hope. It takes courage to see failure not as a dead end, but as a detour guiding you toward a new path. It takes courage to ask for help, to admit that you don't have all the answers, to lean on someone else's strength when yours is running low. And it takes courage to keep your eyes on the blessing even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. But here's the good news: courage can be cultivated. Just like any muscle, it grows when you exercise it. Start with small acts of bravery. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's stepping out of your comfort zone in your career. Maybe it's forgiving someone who hurt you, even if they never asked for it. Each of these acts strengthens your resolve, your capacity to face bigger trials without flinching. And as your courage grows, so does your readiness for greater blessings. Because it's not enough just to desire blessings. You have to be ready for them. You have to be able to steward them wisely, appreciate them fully, and use them for good. Otherwise, what's the point of receiving them? Blessings don't just serve you, they enable you to serve the world. Think about it. The greater the blessing, the greater the responsibility. And the only way to prepare that responsibility is by enduring trials that teach you discipline, humility, and empathy. Now, I don't want you to walk away thinking this journey is all pain and no joy. Let me tell you something. There is immense joy in growth. There is an unbelievable sense of exhilaration when you conquer a mountain you once thought insurmountable. There is a peace that settles in your heart when you look back at your scars and realize they are evidence of life, evidence of strength, evidence of a story that was worth telling. Yes, the trials will test you. They may knock you down. They may bend you. But they will not break you if you hold on to that vision of who you're meant to become. That's the promise of life. If you are willing to keep stepping forward, even with trembling knees and a broken heart, you will find that each step lights up the path, just enough for you to see where to place your foot next. And step by step, day by day, you move closer to the blessing you've been destined for. So here is my challenge. Take everything we've talked about tonight and make it real. Reflect on your current trials. Identify the shift in perspective you need. Commit to the transformation that's calling you. And then act. Do something every day that moves you in the direction of your blessing. Don't just wait for miracles. Participate in them. Because the moment you decide to see your trials as preparation rather than punishment, everything changes. Doors you thought were locked start to open. People you never noticed become allies. And opportunities you once overlooked suddenly feel within reach. Your world expands because you've expanded. That's the real reward, the person you become in the process. And when those blessings finally land in your life, you won't just hoard them for yourself. You'll share them. You'll lift others up. You'll become the living proof that trials are the training ground for greatness. And that's the kind of legacy we all want, isn't it? Not just wealth or accolades or temporary success, but a life that testifies to the power of perseverance, the importance of growth, and the magic of faith. So let me say it once more, your trials are preparing you for something extraordinary. Don't run from them. Don't curse them. Embrace them. Learn from them. Be transformed by them. Because when the blessing comes, and it will come, you'll be ready. You'll be strong. You'll be grateful. And you'll stand as a beacon of hope for everyone still wandering in the dark. That, my friends, is how you turn trials into triumphs. That is how you prepare for greater blessings. And that is why we're here tonight. To remind each other that no matter how heavy the burden or how fierce the storm, we are stronger than we think, braver than we know, and more destined for greatness than we can possibly imagine. Step forward with that truth today. Let it guide you, encourage you, and ignite a fire in your soul that nothing can extinguish. Because the world needs your light. And it's through your trials that your light shines the brightest. You got this. We got this. Now let's go out there and make the most of every storm, every challenge, every tear, because they're all stepping stones to a future so filled with blessings, you'll wonder how you ever doubted what you could become.